Today's episode is focused on those people who are struggling with qualifying.
Ain't afraid to bare my soul, ain't afraid to walk on coals. I ain't gonna tell no lies, I ain't gonna apologize. Can't stop me now, can't stop me now. I'm just doing what I do.
Hi everyone, Enzo here, and this is episode 4 of the Race Driver Coach Show, season 4. 4 fours, all the fours today, and we're going to talk and turn our attention to something called qualifying. Now, as we know, every top driver, all the people, the Sennas, the Schumachers, the Hamiltons, we talk about their raw speed, how good they are in qualifying, how they manage to start higher up than their teammates all the time. How can you just give them one lap and they execute? Do you know what? That is one of the biggest skills that a driver should be able to do. If you say to a driver, you can drive this certain way, go and do it. And if they can't, if they crumble, if they find out they're not really able to get the most out of a tyre, then what career have they got? That's the difference between a number 1 driver and a number 2. You can say to a number 1 driver, get out there now, show me your lap time, show me your best. And they go out there and they do it. Where all the number 2s, all the drivers that are not quite world championship status or can't get the best from themselves, they're probably going to be a good number 2 and a good engineering driver, a good test driver. They'll go out there, they'll make mistakes, they'll start chasing the lap time, they'll start worrying about what other people think, and then they'll underperform. Now, as you know, most people, and I'll bet you sometimes as well, and if not all the time, I bet you fall for the second type of driver. The driver knows that they can, the kind of driver that knows that they can do that lap time, but when it comes to crunch time, they always seem to have an excuse. There was someone in the way. I missed a gear. I outbroke myself. I made a mistake, which a lot of people say. A lot of drivers say, I made a mistake, and they think that's a valid reason. Oh, that's okay then. If you've made a mistake, that's okay. We still love you. Let's get it straight here. I got this question today, or actually it wasn't today. It was a week ago. I got this question, and I want to talk about it today. It was off somebody's name. It starts with M. You know who you are. You contacted me on Facebook. This is for you and everybody else out there, because it's a big problem for people to perform on demand. So I'm going to approach it like a coach does. When I work with a driver with this kind of problem, I've just simplified it all down so I can just get it into this like 10-minute video for you to say, this is how I approach it. And then hopefully this structure will help you start to peel back the layers of your onion, of your mind, of your whole game plan, your strategy of how you can improve yourself when it comes to qualifying. And you can train this on the simulator, believe it or not. Usually, it depends on the actual problem, but you can. So we can work at this whilst we're at home in this isolation period. So this is good fun for me because I can teach you something you can go and do now. You don't have to be in a car. So I've written it down, but I don't need to. But I've just said there's 3 areas, right, which I usually tackle with a driver. So Enzo, I've got a real problem. I can't seem to qualify. By the time I get to Sunday, race 2, race 3, I'm not far away, or I'm pretty much on the pace, but when it comes to qualifying, I can't. Can you help me? Right. First of all, we need to get to the truth of what's really happening. So what I'll do, I'll speak to the engineer. What do you think is happening to this driver? Why are they not performing when it comes to that one lap? Or if it's a tyre that lasts more than one lap in that qualifying session? What's going on? They'll tell me their version. So I get now their version of what's going on. I'll talk to them. Okay, that's what it looks like through the data and from your outside perspective. Perfect. Thank you. Then I'll go to the driver, or I'd probably do the driver first actually, ask them what they think it is. And they could say anything like, I'm not sure about the technique, the warm-up, blah, blah, blah. I keep getting traffic. It's not my fault. So I get 2 perspectives. Now that I don't judge from that. That's just giving me the overall what everybody thinks is going on at this particular point. Brilliant, thank you. Now I'll make my own decision. And the way I do that is I say one of 3 things that this driver's struggling with. First of all, is it their outright pace, their speed, their skills, and this is where you've got to be really honest, and you've actually got to have no ego when it comes to this. If you want to improve, you've got to look at yourself in a very detached way. Second person, third person, fourth person, whatever it is, you look at yourself in a different way and say, right, that driver there is underperforming. And if it's their skill, their actual raw speed, I've got to face it. I've got to tell myself or acknowledge that that really is the problem here. And if it is, face it. If you think I'm just not quick enough, great, because you know what happens then? You can start to work on it. If you hide from the fact that you might not actually be that quick as a driver, and you keep coming up with excuses and you keep remembering that one P7 you had once or something, whatever it is, and you're holding on to that, but everyone else in the industry knows that you're not quite as quick, you're going to be a laughing stock. So what you've got to do is face it and say, am I actually quick enough? And if not, what the hell can I do about getting myself actually quick enough? And it's that kind of question and that honesty that will make you design your test days and will make you have a certain goal when you're going into a session. It's how can I improve this? How can I go back to basics? Say to the engineer, you know what? I just don't think I'm actually that quick enough right now. Can you just go back to the basics with me and teach me the general principle of how to brake like my teammate when they're on new tires, how to do this like he does? And all we'll do for the next session or 2 or 3 is focus on that one skill. So then when you learn it, guess what happens? You become better. You become a better driver and a faster one. So first of all, are you fast enough? This is everybody out there. If you're blaming qualifying, I know you might have done Sector 1 5 weeks ago, really good as the top bloke, but maybe you fluked it, maybe you outbroke yourself and just about got around and you scared yourself and you couldn't really do it again. That doesn't mean you're quick enough. So first of all, let's just get very specific and very clear. Are you fast enough? And if not, what the hell are you going to do about it? Who are you going to get in to help you? How are you going to design your race weekends and your test days to make you faster? What extra testing can you do? Who can you speak to outside, inside the industry to get even more intelligence about your driving? You can't really ignore that. Before you move on to anything else, am I quick enough? And if not, the answer for that will set you on your own little journey to discover a quest to discover how to become quicker. Tick that box off, and I'll explain how later on, how we mark that. Right, secondly, a little one here, could be knowledge. You might not know how to do the correct warm-up procedure. You might not know how this tire wants to be driven when it is up to temperature. Is it the kind of tire that doesn't really want to do more than 2 things at once? So you brake in a straight line, get off the brake, turn and then go. Is it that kind of tire? And you're just not. You're trail braking, causing a mess. You're not hitting the brake hard enough at the start. That doesn't come down to skill. That comes down to knowledge of how this tire and this car wants to be driven when it's on a new tire. Okay, get that in as well. And the third thing is mental. So if you've ticked off, I'm fast enough, definitely. I know I am. And you've ticked off all the knowledge. You know more about how that car needs to be driven. And how about the mental side? How about you understanding that maybe the pressure's getting to you? Maybe you're starting to think different thoughts. Maybe you're starting to watch your mirrors more. Maybe you're starting to watch the delta too much and it's screwing with your head. The third area is, the question for the third area is, can I perform on demand personally? Or do I have the yips? Do I crumble when it comes to hammer time? 3 areas, my friends. So first of all, we've got to know if you've got the skill. Secondly, you've got to have the knowledge of what needs to be done and what that car wants on new tires. And the third area is mentally, I know I'm fast enough, but I do mess up when it comes to the crunch time. Now, what I want you to do with these 3 areas, which I said I'll tell you, is after each session, I want you to devise and put together and I might put it on downloads actually. Yeah, I'll do it after the video, so it might not be up when you actually listen to this, but check out the Race Driver Coach website, not the show, the website, and I'll put a download on there, a very, very basic download, and it'll be on the downloads page, and it'll give you these 3 areas, and you can score yourself out of these 3 areas as soon as you get out of that car or you finish the test day. You say, how was my actual driving, speed-wise, when it came to new tyres? What was it like? What was I missing compared to my teammates? What was the engineer saying about the actual driving? And you go deep into it. You check the data yourself. You put overtime in. You watch the onboards, and you become very, very switched on when it comes to what needs to be done, which actually leads us in to the knowledge side of it, what needs to be done, because we got to get you faster. Them two are linked. Knowing what to do and doing it is the first part. Can you have the speed within you to do it? If not, then you turn to the knowledge. And thirdly, I know how to do it, Enzo. I've got the skill, Enzo, but I'm just falling down mentally. Then you're going to score yourself low in the third area. 3 areas, my friends. If you take care of these 3 areas, and if you really coach yourself, because this is all doable on yourself, you coach yourself to say, as long as I maintain, I score, I work on these 3 areas every single time I'm at a test or a race weekend, you will get better. And at the end, when you do a debrief, you get to Monday, you're like, right, how was my raw speed? And you talk to your engineer as well, or your coaches or anyone. Be honest with me. What was my skill level like? My talent, whatever you want to call it. And they'll give you a score, or they'll grade you, or they'll tell you exactly the truth, and they'll show you what to do, which is knowledge. So the second part, knowledge. Do I know everything about this? Have I got any questions? Even if they're silly. Score yourself. No, I'm fully knowledge, 10 out of 10. I know exactly everything that needs to be done. Or I'm still unsure about the tyre warm-up. I'm still unsure about when the tyre, what it feels like when it's in. And then thirdly, score yourself on the mental side. Did I execute when I needed to? Did I perform on demand? Was the pressure on me and I still stood up and I got everything out of myself? Was I happy in myself when I was in the car? And you score yourself there. And you'll start to see a pattern. This kind of self-coaching, or is exactly what a coach should do when they're looking at you. This kind of coaching allows you to see things how they are. And as soon as one falls below the threshold, below what you're happy with, you attack it. So if it's your knowledge, straight away we learn. We get the engineer to test us each race weekend, to test us on our knowledge. Or if it's the skill, we find out why. If it's the mental, we train that. You can train that on the sim or any other way, or you get an expert in to help you mentally. This is your journey. There's no point you starting to go through your career and people and having the kind of reputation where you're not really that good in qualifying, but you're good in a race. That's no good. Anybody can be good in a race. You get to Sunday, anybody can be half a second off or a second off because the tyres are worn. So the leaders that are actually fast are looking after the tyres. So as you're pounding around and now you're only half a second off, it's like, dude, they're not pushing. They're looking after the tyres. Maybe their physical condition's not great and yours is. So you're able to push for longer, but you're at your maximum. They are not. They're managing. So never look at the race speed. Oh, I got the fastest lap in a race. I must be good. No. Your raw speed comes down to your qualifying pace. How quick you can just knock a lap out. That's the truth of how quick you are. And if you've got that skill, then you've got value in the industry. If you haven't, you're just going to be a second driver. You probably earn a career still, no problem. If you've got good attitude and good people skills, you can probably still get far in motorsport. But you come to this show for honesty. You've got to be quick, you've got to be intelligent, and you've got to be mentally strong. You've got to have skills that allow you to perform. This is where qualifying exposes every driver. Are you up for it? If so, get to that download sheet. It's just going to be a very, very basic one, so you can change it as you want. But start to work on it. Start to become truthful. Use the simulator in this isolation period to train it. Do qualifying sessions and you say, yeah, there's actually no tyre warming, so the knowledge is gone. Maybe a little bit of car knowledge needed, but my actual skill on the on the simulator needs to be better. Fine. How to do that? Watch onboards. Watch how other drivers do it. Watch the replay of the race. Jump on their onboard and watch how they do it. Test the same way they do. Test drive in the same way they do. And then thirdly, if it's mental, you know. You can't hide from that. If it's mental, you feel it. You start to get hot. You're not relaxed in the car. Because you know, as soon as you're performing well, it seems easy. The circuit's coming and you're just gently cruising through each corner. It feels like you're in a rhythm, in a flow. If that's not present when you're in qualifying, you got to work on your mental side. So this is just exposing where it's at. Then you start to develop a system and just focusing on that area, usually is this system, by the way, and training it to overcome or to improve that area. Got it? I hope that helps. It's obviously very obvious stuff, but this really is all obvious. I'm giving it to you black and white. Are you quick enough? Do you have enough knowledge? And can you perform mentally? If so, if it's yes, 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 you're going to be a great qualifier. If not, we need to get a system in place. Check out the downloads. Speak to you next time, everybody. Thank you. Goodbye for now.